Hi everyone, I am waiting for Ashley. Welcome today to my live show. We had some technical issues, so it was not able to be happening on the page. While I'm waiting for Ashley Patricia, she's a businesswoman and she's going to introduce herself in a minute and tell us about what she's doing, and we're going to discover a little bit how she's doing it and get some tips out of it. And if it's your first time watching me, usually I'm podcasting live on my Facebook page, Ndeye Labadens. But today, due to technical issues, we're going to do it from my profile and my Facebook page and on my LinkedIn account as well. So Ashley is coming up in a minute. You have to tilt your phone, Ashley, if you are watching live, in order to be added. So my idea today is to broadcast live from my profile. Right now I'm broadcasting live on different pages as well. So if I can't join you and if I can't see your comment, don't be frustrated. I'm going to get back to you. Okay, I don't know what to do. Do you see me, Ashley? You have to join me live in order to be added because I can't add you otherwise. Let me check. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to figure out a way to add Ashley. Yes. Oh. Okay. Ashley, I should be able to see you. So it's connecting. Great. You have to tilt your phone before you come live.
Okay.
Okay, now it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
So welcome.
Awesome.
I'm going to remove the
Thank
comment
you.
on my way. It's a little bit sideways. If you could center yourself.
Okay.
No. Like it was landscape was perfect, but you are on the side. Yeah, just move it a little bit.
Oh. Technical issues. Okay,
now it's good. Thank you. And welcome today. I was just telling the audience that we are broadcasting live today from here because we had technical issues. So welcome, Ashley, and thank you for your time. And I would like you to introduce yourself.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry. My name's Ashley. I'm 26 years old, and I just recently started a wellness company. Basically on here today to talk about why I started the company. So thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, Ashley, you have something on the way on the camera. I don't know what's on the way. On your left? Or on my left, I mean, on your right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, perfect.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So, I wanted to share with, yeah. I haven't been live in a while. It's a little, off to a bit of a technical issue this morning, so I do apologize for that. I wanted to share with you all kind of the reason why I'm starting this business and kind of what motivates me to want to help people. So from a young age, I've always been inspired by go-getters, high ambition that normally kids aren't really interested in. So I've always felt like I've been a little bit different. I grew up on a military base here in Canada, and my family history has been deeply affected by war and militarization, as many people have. My grandmother was unfortunately murdered by her ex-husband when he returned home from Cyprus War. I believe a spitting image of her, but I actually have a birthmark where the murder weapon was used that ended her life. And I believe that I may possibly be a reincarnation of her. And a lot of people laugh at me for that. And honestly, I'm not worried about it. If you want to laugh about it, go ahead. But sharing my story and the why is very important to me. Growing up in a military household, I lived on the base in Victoria, and when I was young, I think I was about 4 or 5, I told my mom about a girl who lived where we lived, and she lived in a marquee. Her father rode a horse, wore uniforms, loaded powder into guns. And I told my mom this when I was 4, and she was just completely blown away. She took me to the doctor to see if something was wrong with me. And the doctor just said, no, this is normal. She's a child. She's open to this. So I've always felt that I have an innate gift of connecting with other realms and basically spreading messages from, external forces. So, growing up on the base had its ups and downs, as living anywhere does, I'm sure. My father at the time was quite strict. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to do other things that other kids were allowed to do. And I felt that my growth was somewhat stifled by this. So not only was I not allowed to wear makeup when I got older, I wasn't allowed to have boys in my room. I just felt my sense of freedom and self-expression wasn't flourishing. I wasn't able to do that. So we moved around quite a bit in my life as well. And when I was 9 years old, we left and moved to Ontario. And this was heartbreaking for me because growing up there, I didn't think that we would ever leave. I thought this was going to be a forever thing. I didn't realize how temporary everything is in life. And so, I was always the new girl in school. I was always, faced with these challenges of trying to fit in and trying to make myself something that I wasn't. So, eventually I just grew tired of trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And then, things were going okay. We moved back to BC when I graduated high school. My parents went through a pretty brutal divorce. I ended up living with my mom, working full time, trying to afford to stay living at the home that we were living in. And unfortunately, that didn't work out. And I started kind of going down a bad road, using drugs and alcohol to try and make myself feel better. And little did I know back then that it wouldn't help me move forward. It did help me in the long run because now I have experience to help people through their painful situations and, overcome addictions and their struggles. After a really traumatic experience a few years ago at a music festival, I returned home and my mom told me that she needed to tell me something, and I wasn't sure what it was. And she told me that my biological father had passed away when I was 4. He passed away due to a drug overdose. He was prescribed opiates for an injury that happened outside of work. And instead of rehabilitating his injury, they decided to prescribe him. And if you look at the world today that we're in, a lot of people are struggling with, opiate addictions. Overdose estimates are rising. People are having trouble coping in this time that we are in life. And so knowing that, I want to help people overcome their struggles by finding themselves, their true selves inside, and not just using external forces to get better, but by actually forming deep and lasting, meaningful connections to help them better themselves, get in touch with themselves and, nature. I feel like a lot of people in the city don't get to experience a lot of that. It's very rushed, the concrete jungle per se. People don't have a sense of freedom or belonging. And with this COVID-19 pandemic that we're faced with, people, their mental health is struggling. They're stuck inside. Communication is low.
Mhm.
Community involvement is low. So basically, I decided to do some training and studying and learning about different ways to help people through their difficult times. Um, the journey has been somewhat difficult. It's never been easy. It's not going to be easy. One thing I like to tell people is that, just try to look on the bright side, but don't ignore the dark side, because we need balance in our lives. And in order to find that balance, you have to embrace both sides of yourself.
True.
Uh, and I mean, I'm studying now to work on being a coach, and I'm working on writing and publishing a few books. And one day I would like to eventually become a public speaker and a shamanic healer. So those are the things that I'm working towards in my day-to-day life right now.
And what are you doing in order to become the shamanic healer?
Right now I'm focusing on coaching. I would like to take a trip to Costa Rica and meet with some shamanic healers and do the training that they have available there, and just really see what that lifestyle is. My goal is to be a spiritual guide for people to really realize that, there are our spirits play a big part in our destiny, in our lives. And when we're out of touch with ourselves, we're not going to be happy. We're not going to be living the life that we want to live.
Mhm.
And I look at them and I see such grace and such understanding and compassion for humanity. And it's really an amazing thing that drives me to want to get there.
Awesome. And what was your biggest turnaround?
My biggest turnaround, I would have to say the birth of my son. So before getting pregnant, I was in a downward spiral. I was very reckless. Suicide was on my mind. And I found out after being told that I would never have kids that I was pregnant. And it came as a complete shock to me. He was absolutely a miracle child, and I'm very blessed to have him in my life. He motivates me on a daily basis to continue persevering.
That's amazing. But what was the turnaround like? You had that information that you are pregnant.
Hmm.
What's the declic? Like if somebody right now is into a bad situation, what would be the moment when you realize this is the declic, and what would you advise that person to do at that very specific moment?
Every situation is different, right? So, for example, I have a few friends who came to me saying, I'm really struggling. I'm eating my emotions. I'm using drugs. I'm drinking. And I just say to them, how often do you go outside in nature? How often do you tell people how you're really feeling? Do you bottle these feelings up and then eat as much food as you can to try and get rid of those feelings? Or do you talk to somebody about it? Talking to people about your problems isn't necessarily a burden, as long as you have that boundary and that respect for the other individual, and say, hey, I'm really going through something right now. Would you mind talking with me about it? And generally, that person is going to have the space available to talk to you. And if they don't right at that moment, it doesn't mean that they won't. So don't give up on yourself, and don't give up on the people that are in your life. Have the strong belief that you are here for a reason, and that reason may be undiscovered, but you will find your way.
But in your specific case, when you have that declic, that moment where you had this information that you were pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
what was the trigger, the moment where you know that you have to stop what you are doing and you have to focus and embrace what's happening?
Well, I mean, I was injured. I was hit by a car on foot. So that was kind of like another wake up call for me. But when you are pregnant, you have to nourish your body and take care of your body. So, I mean, basically just being able to grow another life inside of me was a big wake up call for me. That was the point where I was just like, there's no going back. I'm not going back to the life I lived. I'm only moving forward. I'm going to take this as a blessing and I'm going to treat my body with the utmost care so that I have a healthy individual that I can raise and bring into the world.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And right now that you decide to change your life at that moment, did you need help or did you do it all by yourself?
I mean, we all need help from time to time, right? And I feel like because I didn't really know who I was, I didn't have the best support system. I tended to push to have a wonderful support from family and friends. I went to counseling, and the counselor that I had, I felt opened the wounds, but didn't necessarily close them. So they would ask me questions, open-ended questions, but then I would go home and this didn't make me feel any better. It's only making me think more about what it is that's making me feel bad. It's not helping me find solutions to make me feel better. So then I started exercising again. I started getting out into nature. I started being thankful and expressing gratitude for my life lessons and for becoming pregnant because I've always wanted to be a mom. And I felt that I was never going to have that opportunity. So maybe I stopped caring about myself because one of my dreams and aspirations to be a mom felt like it was never possible. So once I found that out, I did a complete 360. I stopped, drinking, I stopped using drugs, I started eating better, I cut out bread and dairy. I wanted to provide a safe space and an amazing womb for my son. So
you mentioned about having a childhood that was not really inspiring for the rest of your journey. If somebody right now with the COVID-19 situation is locked down with a situation similar like yours with abuses, what would be your best advice to them based on your experience?
Well, I think a lot of people are feeling isolated right now, which is, of course, going to be a natural reaction. We're told that we need to isolate, we need to stay away from public places. The only confusing thing with that is that, most franchises are still open. So you look at Walmart, you look at the major corporations, they're all still open. So that sends a confusing message to people in that I have to stay home and isolate myself, but these places can be open. So what I would suggest to them is, again, just try and get out into nature, formulate a good solid support group. There's lots of support groups on Facebook, even a bunch of different groups where people, share their stories and in attempts to inspire and help other people overcome. Definitely, resort to FaceTiming or live streaming with loved ones. Calling and checking in on people is really important. I think we don't do that often enough. Even when we have free time on our hands, we don't necessarily have the right mindset to reach out to somebody. We might think that we're going to be a burden or that they're busy because they're not reaching out to us. But if we reach out to them, it gives them an opportunity to respond to us in a way that fits their lifestyle as well as yours. So reach out to people, seek help if you need it. There's lots of wellness platforms online that, excuse me, can give you a great assessment of where your mental health is at. And it gives you different opportunities and resources available for your own specific needs.
And what about the fact that you are locked down with an abusive partner?
If you are locked down with an abusive partner, I've seen on Facebook people make posts saying if you are stuck with somebody who's abusive, send me a message about ordering makeup. And if you say the specific one, then I know what your circumstances are. Now, a lot of people, I think, won't necessarily reach out in that kind of way because they are afraid, right? So when you're with somebody who's narcissistic, who's abusive, who completely demolishes your self-confidence and your self-esteem, you feel trapped and you feel like you can't escape. But I want people to know, and especially people that are listening to this right now, if you are stuck in a situation where you feel unsafe, uncomfortable, and your growth is stifled, you need to do what's best for yourself. Ensure you have a plan in place and get out while you can.
That's a good advice. And what do you see for the end of the year? How do you see the Christmas holidays or holiday season?
I see life being completely different than it has in any other sense. Even looking back as a child, things were so different than they are now. I think that people are realizing how much, how do I say this? People are in corporate greed and how Christmas and these holidays aren't necessarily about family and spending time with loved ones. As much as it is becoming more of that, people are still, spending more than they can afford. They're going above and beyond for the people they love to try and prove their love to people when true solid connection is the best way, in my opinion, that you can show somebody you love them. Give them your undivided attention. They don't need gifts. It's nice to give gifts. A lot of people, their love language is gift giving and receiving gifts. So
Mhm.
find out if you're with somebody or your family members, find out their love language. Find out what makes them tick. Find out what will make them feel better in the long run, during Christmas, over the holidays. I think with the isolation, I'm not sure if we're still going to be isolated or if we will be able to travel and see family. I'm not sure what's going on with it, to be completely honest, because I've been hearing that people from the US have been coming to Canada, even though the borders are supposed to be shut
Yeah.
down. So if we're in June and people are coming to Canada now, I would imagine that people would still be able to leave during Christmas, but it's hard to say. We could have a new pandemic, new cases coming with all of the protests, or it could go the complete opposite way. So we really just have to be patient and wait and see. But if you are feeling stuck or depressed, feel free to reach out to me on my wellness page. I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with you if you are having a difficult time. I'm offering free 30-minute consultations Monday to Friday.
Mhm.
My phone number is on my business page. So if you're struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out because you never know. Somebody might have experienced exactly what you're going through and maybe can help you in the right direction.
True. So where to find you exactly? What's your business page?
It's called Wonnock Wellness, WHONNOCK Wellness on Facebook. I live in Wonnock, so I've started this business in attempts to reformulate our community and bring community members together by creating a safe space where people can, come out and have meetings and go on hikes and do things out in nature and really just connect with one another again, becoming more self-sustainable, doing trading in the community. So if somebody grows vegetables, they can trade their garlic with that person or their honey. And so that's my plan is to basically have people be more self-reliant and for people that live in the city as well. So the people who live in the city often don't want to leave the city, but if they come out and they experience it, they'll realize that they don't have to stay stuck where they are if they don't want to. And that this new way of living is slowly but surely on its way, and the old way is on its way out. Everything must fall apart so other things can fall together.
True. And
Mhm.
who's your target audience?
My target audience is right now I'm starting small. So basically, anybody that is in the realm of my Facebook, people in our community. So anybody from, really any age, even children can be inspired by somebody at a young age. I would say that my target audience is probably people in their 20s to 30s and above.
Mhm.
even teenagers, some teenagers don't really have the best support system. And being a teenager who, felt misunderstood by my parents or, like I was not in control of my own life, that other people were controlling my
Could you
life
tell
for
us
me.
more about when you said you were not in control of your life, to be more specific?
Well, I mean, growing up with parents, my stepfather being in the military, I was very much controlled. Um, it was from what I watched, from what I wore, from how I spoke to, different aspects of my life. I felt like I didn't have control over my own upbringing or how I wanted to live. I mean, there were times where I had all of the freedom in the world when I was playing outside, but
Mhm.
inside our home, it was a completely different story. It was don't do this, don't do that. It wasn't establishing positive values. It was more or less prevention from, making mistakes. And I made a lot of mistakes anyway. So when you let go of that fear and need to control other people and let the flow in, things are much more harmonious. I mean, my parents will tell you that I was I was a difficult girl growing up. I mean, you try to control people and they will rebel. And that's what's happening now in our world right now. People have been controlled for so long, they're tired of it and they're rebelling. And that's the only way to really create meaningful change, I think.
That's awesome. And what kind of people are coming to you for the healing process?
I have I have a lot of people. As a behavioral interventionist before, I worked with families and children who are on the autism spectrum. I've worked with people who have addiction. I've worked with people who have been abused. So really the spectrum is very broad and it's definitely not narrow. There are people from all walks of life, people I never would have thought would ever even reach out to me or reaching out to me in an attempt to improve their lives, which is really great. People that you meet and you're kind of, you get along with them, but they don't really open up to you. So you just think that they're not the type of person to really express themselves in a more meaningful way. And it surprises me because when they open up, I'm like, wow, you're holding on to so many things that, once you let go of these things, your life will be so much brighter. And just to help people who hold on to things, I've held on to things, and it didn't help me, but it's now helping me help other people. So that's really great.
And what do you think about being grateful or dedication?
For gratitude,
Yes.
I think it's very important. As I've mentioned before in some of my posts on Facebook and things like that, I feel that I took life for granted. I was very stubborn and somewhat selfish. I didn't really consider, other points of views or things in that nature. And then I just one day realized that I needed to start being grateful for the life that I have, the roof over my head, the food on my table, my personality, my abilities, just being grateful for everything that I've been given in this life because we have one life and one opportunity to really do something with our life. And if we're not grateful for that, then we're not really going to get anywhere. We're going to be miserable. We're going to have the opposite effects happening, the law of attraction. We will have lack in our lives rather than abundance. And abundance is very important in order to live the life that you want to live.
That's true. And what about the dedication? Because some people are like, they don't believe in gratitude, and some people also don't believe in dedication. What's your point of view?
I think you definitely have to dedicate yourself to something, whether it's a talent, a hobby, or even just an experience. Having the dedication and the motivation to pursue your dreams and your goals is a really important thing to have. I mean, it gives you sort of a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, And without that, life becomes monotonous. It becomes mundane. There's really nothing driving you to want to continue. And I think a lot of people struggle with finding their true purpose, finding their dedication, their motivation. Some days are hard, even for me, some days are tough to get out of bed, but then I think about it and I practice my gratitude and I realize that, if I don't get out of bed and help people, the people that need help, that need me to be there for them, are going to struggle too. So, I mean, it's all about finding what motivates you, finding that purpose in life, and just really going for it. No holds barred. Just really excelling in what motivates you and what drives you to find your purpose and your meaning in life.
Yeah, I think it's a nice touch. We could wrap up on that one, unless you have a final word you would like to add. No. So the point is, we are broadcasting live right now onto two different pages on my profile, your profile as well, and two different pages. Unfortunately, we can't see the comment on those pages because it's on my profile and I'm using my phone. So the point is, we're going to get back to the comments. And also, Ashley, if you could maybe post below the video live, the link of your page, so everybody will be able to reach out to you. And it's going to be also replay. I mean, I call it a replay, but it's going to be on my big page. I'm going to add you to the link and share it so you could check and see the comment when it's going to be live there. And in the meantime, if the quality is good, it's going to be also on YouTube. So you could also check there and add your link to that YouTube video interview of this. So thank you so much for your time, Ashley. You are from Vancouver right now, I think. What's the name of the city where you are?
I'm in Maple Ridge.
Maple Ridge. So thank you so much for Maple Ridge. I'm right now in New Brunswick, St. John. So thank you for joining me, and it was a pleasure having you live. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.